Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co host, VJR Stewart.
And I'm your co-host TD3. It is Wednesday, May the 13th, 2026, and if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So let's give a shout out to Count Basie for providing our theme music, which we haven't changed yet, but we're working on it. And if you haven't already, hit that notification bell and the like button to help us with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're here watching the show live, invite a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, or a frenemy, so you guys have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. And with that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring the latest information to social media.
all right, folks, we have a jam-packed show tonight with a lot of interesting topics. So go ahead and buckle up your seatbelts as we get started. We have several things we're going to discuss tonight. For those of you who travel internationally, U.S. passports are being revoked if you are behind on your child support. Interesting story for some of you folks who are out there. You got to make sure that you get your stuff in check. We'll talk a little bit about that. In addition to that, there's a few other items we want to discuss on the relationship side. Why is it that men in particular, and we'll focus on black men, are growing in the numbers who are marrying outside of their race? We will have a tasty little conversation on that. And then also, imagine taking care of someone else's child as a step parent for 17 years, and all of a sudden, after you've made this investment and paid for all the graduation ceremonies, you get uninvited to the graduation. We're going to talk a little bit about what that might looks like. And then, of course, we're going to talk and continue our conversation on the NBA playoffs and a couple of more stories if we have time for it, Jimmy. So let's go ahead and get started with the show. But before we get started with our stories, let's go ahead and take a minute to memorialize a few folks that we have lost within the last week. Of course, take
Okay.
a moment to honor these faces, some of which you may know. So, of course, we want to offer our condolences to the family and friends of those who we have lost within the past week. And, of course, make sure that we put our prayers up because, of course, these are great losses. One, of course, within the sports community, the Memphis Grizzlies lost Brandon Clark Ford, just 29 years of old, 29 years of age, and
So you're a very young man, Tom.
the official cause of death has not been determined yet. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens to that because obviously that is a shock to the sports community and the NBA community. I don't really get a chance to watch the Grizzlies that often unless they're in the playoffs, since of course we're in Texas. But that was a surprise.
How do you die, Tom? I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, they have not come out with the official cause of death as of yet, but obviously, I don't know if he had heart murmurs or something of that nature, but I'm pretty sure that there will be some more information on that pretty soon, hopefully.
Well, if you do have heart problems like that, Tom, where you're either atrib or where your heart skips a beat or beats too fast or murmurs, you absolutely cannot be fooling around with recreational drugs. 'Cause, as you can ask Lynn Bias about that, when he takes a little bit of cocaine and then, boy, he just drops dead. So you got to be absolutely careful these days, especially when young people, athletes, just drop dead like that. If I had to guess, I'm not trying to say anything because I don't know, so take this with a grain of salt. But I would suspect, Tom, that I guess when the autopsy is done and if they release the results, there's probably something related to drugs.
I don't know, Jimmy. What we do know, and I'm not saying this has anything to do with his demise, but he was arrested on April the 1st in Arkansas for speeding in possession of what turned out to be kratom, Kratom, an herbal supplement promoted as an alternative to a pain remedy, pain medication.
Okay.
Becomes illegal in Tennessee as July the 1st. So we're not saying that has anything to do with whatever would happen, but this obviously is a very tragic loss.
Okay. Very, very unfortunate, Tom. So
So,
you ready to move on with our main stories? We got a full lineup tonight.
yeah, yes, we do. We'll go ahead and get started, Jimmy. There's a little background noise on the their side of it. And actually, I heard a little bit of it in
Uh,
last. Okay,
and I'm not sure where that's coming from, actually.
yeah.
Um, okay.
Because I know for most of last week's show was pretty good, but towards the end of the show, I kind of heard that little buzzing noise. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but either way, we'll go ahead and get started.
Let me see. I just turned my mic off mute and it's still there. So why don't you go into our first story? Let me see if I can log off and log back on and see if that fixes it.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started with the show, and hopefully Jimmy will be joining us back in a couple of minutes, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties as well. And we'll go ahead and get started with our first story of the night. Once he gets back, we are going to get into sports, though. U.S. passports can now be revoked for significant child support in arrears. The U.S. Department of State has announced that the U.S. citizens who owe significant child support debt may have their U.S. passports revoked. Under federal law, a person who owes more than 2,500 in unpaid child support may be denied a U.S. passport. The State Department may also revoke any already issued passport. If a passport is revoked, it can no longer be used for travel, even if the person later pays off the debt. If you are outside of the United States, when your passport is revoked, you may only be eligible for a limited validity passport that allows direct return to the United States and nothing more. You would need to contact the state where the child support is owed and work through the U.S. Embassy or consulate for emergency travel documentation. So this is going to actually be a pretty interesting one. I don't know that folks are going to have a great deal of pain on this. I think they're going to start focusing on $100,000 or more in back child support. I would hope not too many people have that much back child support unless they make a ton of money. But eventually it's going to roll down to smaller amounts. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that particular thing rolls out and how much time that's going to take. So it looks like JR may be back on. Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yeah, Tom, I still hear the static. I'm thinking it may be on your side, actually.
I'm not exactly sure. I hear static on your side. Can you?
Hit the mute button on your side and see if it goes away.
Okay. Okay. How does that sound?
I still hear it.
You still
Um,
on my side? Or you still hear static on my side?
I still hear it and you still hear it. So, but yeah, if I mute my mic, that should cancel out the sound from my side. But so I'm booting up another computer, so I'll switch computers here in a second. As soon as it boots up, you see if
Okay. And
that
then I also
relieves.
got some feedback that people can barely hear me, that my voice is very low, which is odd because it usually isn't. Says Tommy's volume is low. I can barely hear him. Says
Okay.
our is terrible.
Well, why don't we do this? My other computer is booted up now, so let me switch computers. So I'm going to break away just for a second, and I'll kill this feed and log back in.
Okay, that sounds good, folks.
All right.
Appreciate the feedback. Before, as he's doing that, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to a couple folks on our chat line. Miss Tanya, I want to thank you for joining us. One of my most, of course, loyal followers. Appreciate her love and support. We've got, of course, cousin RDK, who is on the chat line. Good evening to you as well. We have Miss Carol, who is on the chat line as well. Thank you for the heads up, Carl and Tanya, in terms of the audio. Hopefully, when Jimmy gets back on, we'll be able to get this audio issue taken care of. So, in that case, folks, let me know what is going on out there with where you are. We have a couple of stories that are coming up, but it's definitely going to take a two to tango type conversation for our next couple of topics. So we will give JR a couple of minutes to join us back. All right. Let's see here. Tommy's volume is so low I can barely hear him. Okay. And JR will be right back in just a couple of minutes. But want to get your thoughts for those who are listening out there. Hopefully, you've been able to hear at least the story that I was talking about. Any of you guys out there, what do you think about this? The U.S. to revoke passports of parents who owe significant child support. Is this fair? Is this overreaching? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts on the chat line if you're on the chat line. What do you think about the passports being revoked if you owe significant child support? Is this the right strategy? Okay, got Miss Mary on the chat line as well. Says white noise. Not exactly sure what white noise is. Okay, says that the static is coming from JR and mine is just very low. No static, but very low. Okay, any thoughts on the U.S. passport being revoked for child support? All right. Tell you what, why don't we do this? Until we get some feedback and we get JR back, let's go ahead and go into sports. So, for those of you who have been checking out the playoffs, the Eastern and Western Conference semifinals are among us. We have, of course, Oklahoma City has just taken out the LA Lakers. I mean, not even a gentleman's sweep, but a full sweep of the LA Lakers. So, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now in the Western Conference Finals. The Spurs are up now 3-2 on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll know what that looks like on Friday of this week. And of course, in the Eastern Conference Finals, Detroit Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers are tied at 2-2, but they're going to play tonight. And the Knicks took out the 76ers in pretty grand fashion as well. So want to see what your thoughts are. My pick, of course, was Oklahoma City and the San Antonio Spurs out of the West, out of the East. I had Detroit and the Knicks. And so we will definitely see how that pans out. Because really the only thing that I'm probably looking at right now is the Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, Miss Square, she has a comment on the side. There are really a lot of people that travel overseas in child support debt. You know, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure what the statistics are, but what I do know is that maybe 25 to 30% of people in the United States have a passport, and I'm pretty sure a significant number of them may have child support background. I'm not exactly sure. That'll be a very interesting question. How can we make some money on the World Cup coming to the North Texas area? Well, we can say this much. We're going to be making a lot of money. I don't know about we, but of course there are probably some entrepreneurship opportunities. However, you're going to have to probably get on that early, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of folks who have some preferences and some inroads in getting those vendor options available to you. But that is something worth checking into because that is a multi $100 million opportunity with the World Cup coming to Texas. So that should definitely be interesting. Any other thoughts on the U.S. passport being revoked? Is that overreaching? Do you think it's fair? There may not be a high number of people, but obviously it's something that's worth news, a newsreel. So let me know your thoughts. And of course, while we're waiting on JR, any thoughts on the NBA semifinals? Any favorites coming out of the NBA finals going to the finals? Who are your thoughts on who's going to be going to the NBA championship? Of course, we'll get to that either later in the show or next week. All right. In that case, while we are still waiting on Jimmy, we may get a chance to talk to, we may get a chance to debate this, maybe not. But Shiloh Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, in debt, the former Colorado football standout Shiloh Sanders, who is the defensive back, not the quarterback, that Shador faces more than $11 million in debt as he gets ready for the upcoming trial. He is set for a bankruptcy trial for $11.8 million judgment from a 2015 assault allegation. His attorney filed a series of requests that would try to limit the extent of the evidence allowed in the trial related to disciplinary history, related to disciplinary history as a minor in the state of Texas. When Sanders was involved in an incident at his school, which led him to file for bankruptcy. In essence, what he's trying to do is file for bankruptcy to erase all of his debt, which, by the way, was from a security guard that he got into a scuffle with who was trying to take his phone while he was still in high school. And so, really, this incident is a little bit over a decade old now. But $11.8 million is a lot of money, especially considering that he does not have an NFL job right now. So I think he was playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2025. I think he's a free agent right now. Of course, we just had the draft a few weeks ago, so he of course is going to try to get on with somebody. But I don't know what kind of contract he's going to get is going to be able to erase $11 million. Cornerbacks, unless they are very elite, do not make the money that wide receivers make unless they are literally a shutdown corner. So I got another response here from Miss Marin. It says a lot of people don't have passports. I was at church and they asked everyone if one to stand. I think about 6 people at a mega church. Now that's pretty interesting, especially considering the volume of international travel within the United States. And one thing that I find pretty interesting is that we have a lot of folks who are not just traveling overseas, but who are moving to other countries. We'll call them expats, primarily driven by a couple of things. One is the quality of life and cost of living in the United States is getting higher, especially for those who are retiring. And so you have a large number of retirees who are moving to the South, South America, Mexico, Central America, like Panama City and Costa Rica. And then you have folks who are moving to Asian countries, whether that be Korea, Vietnam, that being South Korea and Vietnam, and other areas where that retirement money can stretch a lot further than you can get in the United States. And so it is not uncommon to have people say that, for maybe a couple of $1,000s, they have a lot of space. They can hire a maid, a cleaning person for within a couple of grand in a pretty nice penthouse. So it will be interesting. But in terms of passports in general, why don't we look this up right quick? What percent of people have passports? Give me just a second. See if I can find this information.
Okay, I'm back. I couldn't get the other computer to log in, so I don't
Okay.
know what's going on. I apologize.
Definitely do sound a little bit better now. There's not as much thing. Hopefully, what we try to figure out is why my volume is so low.
I think it's the this restream media server that's causing the problem. Um, yeah, 'cause I can't log in back into restream at all from my other laptop computer. So, um,
Okay.
but anyway, we so that just means we don't have the video feeds that we're going to play tonight. So we'll just have to go into our stories and
Well, I was actually kind of doing a monologue on the U.S. passport issue.
okay,
And so the question, there were a couple of comments saying not a lot of people have passports, but now that I've looked at the stats via chat, it says almost half of U.S. citizens currently have a valid passport. So that
okay.
would be about half of U.S. citizens, half of Americans have passports, and obviously, not all of them, but a certain percent of them may have some type of back child support. I can't say that I know what percentage of it, but they said it's starting at $2,500 or more, starting out initially on targeting those folks with over $100,000 in back child support.
Okay, you do sound a little better now that you've moved a little forward, closer to, I guess, your MacBook. That's interesting, Tom. So all I can say, if that's you and you want to leave the country, I guess you're going to have to pay the bill. Or if you're out of the country, don't come back.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because they've got a limited passport to get back to the United States, but you're gonna of course have to go to the State Department in order to get that squared away. Otherwise, the mafia wants their money.
Mafia wants their money.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, let's move on to our next story. Since I've delayed us 20 minutes already, so
All right, let's get
my
let's go ahead and get.
apologize, everyone. I'll try to make it up to everyone
All right, let's
by
go ahead and
talking
get to the.
shorter. Un
Uh-oh.
poco.
Good luck with that one. Okay. All right, let's get to the next story, Jimmy. There was the story that we left off last week that we didn't get a chance to really dig into, and that was the stepdad who got uninvited to the graduation. I think that you have a video that kind of speaks to that, so we can have a conversation on that.
Yes, and that's on the other laptop, so I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
able to upload it earlier. So I apologize for that. I don't know why Restream wouldn't take it. It's a short video, but anyway, I'll just do the quick recap. So here's a man who's with a woman who has a daughter.
So
So
they
it's
were
his
married.
stepdaughter.
They
So
were
they were
married.
married. It's his stepdaughter, and he has raised his girl since she was age 1. She's 18 now, so 17 years, and now she's graduating from high school. He pays for her dress and the graduation and all the trimmings. We know how our folks do it when we have a little money. They go all out for these graduations. So he's one of those dads that went all out for his daughter. And the mom convinces the daughter that her biological dad now wants to come back into her life. Biological dad hadn't been around for 17 years. So I guess he knocked the mother up and left. And then she gets married to this guy who has been around, and the dad has been to every school event, Tom, every sporting events, everything in her life. He's been there as a dedicated parent, paying for the graduation, and she's getting ready to go off to college, so he's going to pay for her apartment to get her started while she's going to school to help her out financially. And mom convinces her that since her
Well,
biological
look,
dad now
now, was it the daughter? Was it the daughter asking the mom, or when you say the mom convinces her, it wasn't? Was it the guy
The
who?
dad, evidently, her biological dad wants to come back into the picture and he
Right,
wants to go to her
which is
graduation.
okay, which is okay for the
So I'm pretty
biological
sure he
father.
went through the mom first.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
and so, and mom convinces the daughter that she
Well,
should.
from what I could tell, she said when the daughter went to the mother, and the mother said it was okay to
The
invite
mother said it was
to.
okay.
But this is the caveat. I guess they have only so many tickets to go to the
I
graduation.
think they give like 2 tickets or maybe three because they
Exactly, and so in
at these
order for the
graduations.
for the father to go, the stepfather, who had been there for the last 17 years, can't go because she was going to give the ticket to the father. Otherwise, is it okay to give my biological father a ticket to the graduation? But in order to do that, the stepfather, who has really been the father, uh, gets uninvited and can't go. So yeah,
17 years, Tom, of being the only father figure in her life. And I mean, I was talking to the wife about this earlier. This is not that uncommon. I mean, this story may be it went viral, and it may be unique in this situation, but this is not uncommon for men who are more beta than anything else for this kind of thing to happen to them. And unfortunately, I don't think Mama has any respect for her husband because if she did, she wouldn't have done this to him. And but that's the life of a beta, Tom. You're either gonna end up divorced in 7 years, or if you don't end up in divorce, you're gonna end up with a wife who is gonna step all over you, mistreat you, because she knows you're a simp. She knows you're codependent. She knows you're not gonna do anything. You may bluff a little bit, but in the end, there's another. I didn't. I think I didn't play the whole video for it. It goes on for about 10 minutes. There's another video where the daughter calls the mother and has the stepdad on three way, and he records that, and the mom is telling her, "Don't worry about it. Go ahead and give the ticket to your biological dad. Your stepdaddy get over it. He'll be mad for a month, but he's not going anywhere. He's not going to pull the funding for your apartment. He's going to continue to do the things and support you that he's always done. Because she knows he's a wimp, Tom. He's a simp.
Well,
So
based upon what I saw in the video, which I did get a chance to listen to the video a little bit earlier today, and when you talk about a beta male, and I looked this up, what is a beta male? Someone who's non-confrontational, conflict avoidant, someone who defers to other, less assertive, and agreeable and people pleasing. Now, when I was listening to this video a little bit earlier today, he called the wife and he confronted her and he called her on it. And, she's like, you said this is okay. She's like, yeah, I told her it was okay. And then he of course, goes into a rant. It's like, look, I've been here, but you try to tell me I've been here for 17 years. I'm the one that's been raising her. I'm the one that's been taking responsibility. And so what you're telling me is that all this time, in order for him to go, if he wants to go back into her life, that's fine. But you're telling me after 17 years that I'm the one that gets uninvited. So why don't we do this? Why don't you go ahead and pay for that apartment? Because I'm putting my money out this apartment. Why don't you pay for all of this stuff? Because I've been here for 17 years. I can't undo that. But I tell you what, if that's the way y'all want to roll, then you know what? I'm out. And so,
Tom, he's not out though. That's the problem. He's not out.
okay, now we don't know the future. We don't know the future. But based upon what he was saying on the video, he confronted on it. He called out on it. And I was like, you know what, y'all. And at the end of the video, it's like, you know what, y'all have a good time together because you know what, I'm done.
Tom, when she said she's trying to reunite her family, they're trying to be a family, her, the daughter, and the dad, and that's her husband, the stepdad's her husband,
Correct.
but you're
Correct.
trying to be family with your ex who left you, hadn't been there for 17 years.
Right.
Tom, that says a lot. And then on top of that, Mama's not worried about him leaving. Mama's not even worried about he cutting off support for the daughter. She tells her daughter he's not. He'll be mad for a month, but he's not going anywhere. He's not going to do anything. And she's able to say that confidently, Tom, because out over 17 years, he's done this before. He's pounded his chest. He's made noise, but he's not going anywhere. Betas are very codependent. They don't cheat. They don't leave. They don't. They're not the ones who break up families. The women they're married to get absolutely sick of them. They're the ones who leave. They're the ones who cheat, have a side dude. They don't divorce him, or they divorce him and leave. This is why 65% of educated college women who marry these betas are divorced after 7 years. The ones who don't get divorced, like this guy, they stick around, but they don't love you. They don't care. You're just an ATM machine to them. You're just there to pay the bills.
Again, I can't say as to what this dude is going to do. I just know what I heard and what I saw on the video that you shared, and it looks like to me that this dude is out. Now, you obviously may know that situation better than I do, but what
Oh, I
I
don't.
heard,
I know as much as you do. I'm just
but
speculating, Tom.
what I heard and what I saw is this dude was done. He's like, you know what? Why don't you pay for this? Why don't you pay for an apartment? Because I'm pulling my money, and she's like, oh, really? It's gonna be like, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be like that.
This may be the straw that broke the camel back, Tom, but I don't think so. If I was a betting man, I bet that he'd go back. That's what betas do. They may sulk a little bit and be angry and upset, but just like Mama said, he'll be mad for a month. It'll be okay. She's telling the daughter, "Go ahead and give the ticket to the biological dad, and don't worry about anything. He'll get over it in a month." Mom can say that because she's gone through this before with him. She knows that it's all bark and no bite, Tom.
Yeah.
if she was if he had any kind of bite about him, any kind of self love for himself or self esteem, Mama would be worried that she's going to lose a meal ticket, that the daughter's going to be cut off, that she's going to have to pay for everything now. But Mama's not. She wasn't a bit concerned. In fact, she turned it on him and told him he was trifling for feeling this way.
Oh no, he
For
was the one.
stand for
He was the one that called her trifling, and she said, "Well, why has it got to be trifling?" And he called her out on it. That. That's what I heard. That's what I
But
heard.
but when he said he was going to cut her off, what did she say? When he started saying I'm going to take my deposit back, undo the apartment, take back the money I put down in the prom, she told me he was trifling. Oh, you're gonna do that?
Yeah,
That
and he said, "I sure am, but I'm getting ready to do
he did say
it."
that, yeah.
He said, "I sure am, but I'm getting ready." He said, "Yeah, I'm trifling and petty, and that's exactly what I'm getting ready to do."
So I hope for his sake, Tom, that he does follow through with it. I'm not trying to break up any families, but I mean, if you with a woman who's that unappreciative after 17 years, I mean, it's hard enough to find men who are willing to stick with you, and when you have children. So here's a man who's actually taking your daughter on his wing, raised her like his. Because you remember he started off with the video saying, well, I spoke to our daughter," and then he corrected and said your daughter.
Yes,
So I
exactly.
mean that was a sign right there. He was
He
getting ready
did
to
say
cut.
separation, separation. He did say
Yes.
the separation on that phone call.
So that was a hint right there that he getting ready to cut y'all loose, and maybe the daughter was the only reason he was sticking around for 17 years. Who knows? But for a woman to do that to you, Tom, 17 years.
And see, this is the reason, why a lot of guys is like, no, I'm out. But again, and I don't know anything about him in this situation. I don't particularly need to know. But in that situation, when you stuck around for 17 years, raised somebody else's child, been the father figure, I guess what really I find perplexing is how the daughter, who had no relationship with her father for 17 years, had not been around, had the gall. And I understand the mother had some influence on her, but how the daughter even felt comfortable inviting the biological father who hasn't been around at the expense of a stepfather who, I mean, that's no common sense to me.
But Tom, it becomes, see, this is why you have to extrapolate into the future with very little information. But here's how that happened. 17 years she's watched her mom step all over her stepdad.
But you don't know that she's been stepping all over. You don't
She's been
know that.
stepping over him, Tom. I don't know that for certain because I wasn't there. But if I was a bed man, that's what. And the daughter feels she knows what the right thing to do is to invite the stepdad and go through with their plans. But because she's watched this happen over and over, and mom's convincing her that it's okay, mom's telling her okay, and that she watched it for herself growing up, she's not even worried. So for this is a learned behavior, Tom. This kind of behavior by a young girl, a young woman, was learned by her mother. Her mother taught her how to treat a beta, and she's
Well, not a beta. I mean, you can't call him a beta because you can't say for sure he's a beta. But
he, he
obviously,
he
she
may have been
has
a
told
beta.
him.
He may be coming out of his beta phase, Tom, and decided to stand up for himself at this point. But for 17, I just don't believe that this is the first time this woman is disrespecting him
And,
this way
and you probably are right.
in 17 years. This
That
can't be the first time. And then for her to tell him, the man that you're with, that you're trying to be a family with your ex-husband. This guy hasn't been around. He hasn't raised your daughter. He's been a deadbeat. But this is the guy you want to now be. And he even asked her, "Is there something going on with you and the husband?" Did she say no? The ex-husband? Did she say? Well, I don't know if he was ex-husband, but with your ex, did she say no? All she said was, "We're trying to be a family now."
well,
Tom, oh, she'd have to go.
yeah, oh, absolutely. Is one of my good friends would go, somebody got to go and it ain't me. But I would not try to break up anyone's family. But in this case, there are exceptions to every rule. It is absolutely crazy that someone would even fix their mouth to saying, you know what, I can understand someone wanting to have a relationship with their biological father, but not at the expense to the man who has literally raised you. But that is a
Tom,
reflection on the mother
and,
as
and Tom, the stepdad even said it's okay for him to be around, to come back into her life. He wasn't bothered by that. If you want to come in to graduate, he can wait outside. We go to dinner. He could be there. He can participate. He just can't have my ticket that I paid for I pay for the entire graduate, the prom. I pay for all of it. He can't have my ticket. If he want to come and sneak in through the back door or get somebody else's ticket, more power to him. He just can't have my ticket. And you're telling me, and she, mama's steady saying it's okay. This is okay for the
Because
biological dad to want to come back now.
because I will almost, I ain't gonna say guaranteed that I know, but there's a reason that why that dude wasn't there for 17 years, and it's probably this because
Yes.
what they're not thinking about is college costs money, and it ain't getting no cheaper to go to college, and that girl, that young lady, has just cut off her money train.
Well, Datum, the card may be declined now. So we'll see.
Exactly. Take back that credit card. Take that credit card that girl probably got. That's her daddy's. And that mother, I don't know what her situation is. Hopefully, she's making pretty good money because she ain't gonna be making very good money for long without him.
Well, we better hope, and especially if the daughter's trying to move out on her own and go to school, the fact that her dad's willing to pay for her apartment
No,
and pay for her expenses,
not anymore.
not anymore.
Not
And
anymore.
let's hope he really has the balls and the strength, Tom, to carry through, because with a woman like that in your life, man, you're catching hell.
Absolutely. And I guess that leads into the next story, and that's why men and black men in particular marrying outside of their race are a perfect lead in.
Well, Tom, I think we've covered this several times in the past,
We
and
have.
we've seen the numbers since 2018. The marriage rate of black men marrying black women has been declining since the last study we saw in 2018. But interestingly, since 2018, the marriage rate for black men marrying non-black women is on the rise. So, and one of our agents actually that was the question she was going to pose. It was a two-part question. One, why is this happening? And two, is there anything black women can do to turn this around?
Well, interesting because we have talked about this several times before in prior years. And as I did some of the research on this, I found some very interesting numbers as we
Okay,
look at major demographic groups. So right now, these numbers are probably a little bit dated, but it's saying that African American men, 24% of them marry someone outside of their
you're
race.
right. It's about a fourth.
But on the other hand, that means 76 of them marry somebody who's a black woman. But
Right.
Hispanic men, interestingly enough, actually have a higher number of a higher percentage of marrying outside of their race. U.S. born Hispanic men, almost half, 41% of Hispanic U.S. born men marry outside of their race. Among all Hispanic men, that number drops to 26%. I guess the men who immigrate over here, some of the folks that your friends are probably deporting overseas, that drops that number down to 26%. Asian American men, 38% of Asian American men born in the U.S. marry outside of their race, almost 40%. And among all Asian men, those who immigrate over here, the United States is not deporting, drops that number down to 21%.
Okay.
Now, American Indian men, they're, even though the U.S. tried to commit genocide, even though nobody talks about that, over half of American Indian men or Alaska Native men marry outside of their race. That means 54%. White men are at the bottom. 12% of them marry someone outside of their race. And this comes from a pretty reputable source, and that's the Pew Research Center. And this information is probably around 2020. So
So, Tom, is your point that we're at 24% and other groups are higher? Are you trying to say that
my percent,
it's
my,
not,
my,
maybe it's not that
my,
bad?
my percent, I'm not going to say that it's bad is relative. It has grown, but I guess what I'm also seeing is that other groups, with the exception of Caucasian men, who control most of the economic and political power in this country, have the lowest incidence of marrying someone outside of their race. But I think that number has been growing in the 20s, in the 2020s, based upon a lot of the optics that I see just walking around. And then, of course, what you see on television as well. Again, the data that I'm looking at is 2017, 2018. But I can guarantee, as Charles Barkley would say, I will guarantee that number has actually increased for Caucasian men as well.
Okay. So it may be increasing, but once again, we're talking about our group of people.
You're correct.
And so the second part of that
The
question
part of the
is
part of the norm, and among all men, uh, African
I guess you're
American
trying to say that black men are not that bad
no
compared to others.
compared to the others.
Okay, but now it may be, Tom, that our numbers are a little lower because we don't have, I guess, as these women define a successful man, a bunch of black men who make 6 or 7 figures
True,
professionally. You
true.
know, the enrollment rate at the universities is declining for black men, and the number going into
They're they're
professional,
they're they're
high-paying
they're, they are
jobs.
not just declining; they are plummeting.
And so we're really talking about when you look at a group of men who are 6, 7 figure salary guys, that group is not. I mean, when you blend it in with the entirety, it may be 24%. But if you just parse out the group that make a 6 or 7 figure salary,
Athletes and entertainers.
yes, that number may be much higher than 24%, Tom. So because it's obvious that, and the question was, successful black men tend to be
Well,
marrying
how do you define?
outside.
But the question is, how do you define successful?
Let's just say if we want to do a benchmark, um, somebody who makes that's a 6 figure or 7 figure salary
Well,
or higher.
I wouldn't define that as successful. I would define that as someone who has a high income. That doesn't make them successful as a man, as a man of character.
Well, no, okay, high income doesn't equate or say anything about your character. You can make a lot of money and be an asshole, so we know that.
Yes, you can.
Um, but generally, I think men are defined by how much money they earn
I would
to
agree.
some degree,
I would agree.
and so the higher the earnings, the more value and attractive a guy can be. I mean,
That's
just
true.
look at Flavor Flav, for instance,
Yeah, and Snoop. But high income doesn't always mean high net worth.
or Lil Wayne. I mean,
Well,
guys
this
worth
is true.
$50 million.
This is true.
Um,
This is
Without
true.
that 50 million, I'm thinking Lil Wayne would be struggling to get a date on Friday night.
With all the tattoos, yeah. Well, there are a lot
So,
of women with tattoos, so maybe it doesn't matter anymore.
let's just say, rather than say successful men, let's just say high earning
High net
or,
worth. Okay, there you go. High
high
net
net
worth.
worth guys,
High
high
net-
earners,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
so
Well, let's
and
have
so
that
what
conversation.
and so what can women do who want that kind of a guy to turn this around? And if you ask me why you're thinking about it, I'll just give you my quick answer.
Okay.
I think part of the issue, Tom, is that there are far too many black women who are too masculine, and
Mm.
that a lot of these guys are they may be more of the alpha type or a sigma type, and those type guys really want more traditional type women who don't mind letting them lead and being submissive and following this lead. Guy who has to come home and he has to fight out in the workforce and then come home and have another battle with his wife because she's trying to be more masculine than him, doesn't work for that type of guy. I can tell you that I absolutely know that for certain it's not going to work for him. So if you're a ball buster, if you're the kind of woman with a stepdaughter, with a daughter, and beating down her husband in that situation, a guy who was an alpha or sigma type personality would not have put up with it. He would have left a long time ago.
Fair enough. If you're talking about a high income guy, the things that, and there are probably a variety of them, but the top things that come to mind for me for a high net worth guy or a high income guy is femininity. And when you say women are too masculine, I'm talking the country. Be feminine. And when I say be feminine, that can mean multiple things, but femininity is very important. Bringing peace to his household, bringing peace, Peace, not Piece. There's plenty of Pieces out there, but Peac, bringing peace to the household, and then being able to follow his lead. I know that a lot of sisters out there have had to take the lead because there hasn't been a man around. It could have started
Right.
with their household not having a father around, and so they learn to lead from their mother who raised them because unfortunately they did not have a man in the household, and so naturally they have learned to lead from their mothers, but learn how to follow. someone's lead. That doesn't mean that that person is going to always be right. That doesn't mean that that person is you're going to always agree with that person, but understand how to follow their lead and being able to have the conversations without being completely destructive in the way that you have a conversation. The other thing that you have to understand how to talk to a man, and that's regardless of whether he is a high income guy or whether he is a mid income guy. When I say mid income, maybe that's between
Right.
to the 80.
Maybe he's a blue collar guy, but
Exactly.
if he goes to work every day, pay his bills and responsible, but men are men, and men want to feel appreciated. One, they want to be looked up to and admired. That's a love language for guys. I mean, you don't necessarily have to love me, but if you admire me, look up to me, and you think I have value, uh, I'm going to share this story. I'm not going to say the destination of where we were, but um, a while back, probably about 30 years ago, I followed you on a trip, and we left the country. And Tom, I was so blown away. That was the start of my getting out of the country too, and going to Central and South America. And um, but here's the thing that I noticed right away, Tom. The very first time I left the country, and was in I don't know, I guess you could say maybe a third world country.
Yeah.
It was Caribbean,
Yeah.
Central and South America and Caribbean.
Right. Right.
But so it doesn't matter. Been to Trinidad, I've been to Peru, I've been to Venezuela, been to Brazil, and and we've been to a couple of Caribbean countries. Here's the thing that impressed me. I don't know if you remember the time we went to this restaurant, and the lady who owned the restaurant was taking our order. Now she was married. She had a husband who was doing whatever back in the kitchen and working. And this woman was so damn friendly to us, a group of guys she didn't even know. Um, and everywhere we went, the women were all, I mean, they were just all like that. I mean, you didn't see anybody cutting their hair because they didn't want to deal with him. Everybody had makeup on. Everyone's wearing a dress. Everyone was very ladylike. I don't think I saw one woman walking around in pants. You may have seen them in shorts or bathing suits or something, but not in long pants. But on top of that, everywhere we went, the women were extremely friendly, even though they had boyfriends and husbands. I mean, they had a little flirt nature with them, but they wasn't trying to me, look like flirtatious nature. But really, they were just being friendly, and that's just the way they are. You didn't have anyone giving you attitude, except when we stopped and got drinks. And we met the a couple of American women from New York. We were just trying to speak and be nice and offer to buy them a drink, a coffee, or whatever, the little shop or a tea. And boy, we got so much fucky attitude. It's like, okay, this is why if you leave the country and go abroad and meet women other places, you may not ever want to come back to this attitude from American women. And these sisters were just had attitude like I don't know. They had major attitude as if they were entitled to for us to speak to them and offer to buy them something. It's like we're obligated to do this. We weren't even trying to pick up on them. Nobody's trying to hit them up. Nobody's trying to get a phone number from nothing. We're just being nice. Okay, you're an American. We're an American. Our tables are right next to each other. We just speak to them. Can we offer you guys a drink and get all this major attitude in response? So
Yeah, Jimmy. Unfortunately, that was the experience, and again, that speaks to number one, femininity. What does that mean to me? That means softening your posture. That means smiling. To Jimmy's point, just feminine virtues of a woman that I think unfortunately has gotten lost, and a lot of that is influenced by I think what a lot of people have seen on mass media, including social media. Loud, rambunctious, trying to control everything. And the reality of it is, a man who one has self-esteem, number two has confidence in himself, and number three, especially if he's high income, he's not going to put up with that. He's not going to put up with it for very long at all. And so, at the end of the day, femininity is extremely important. And again, you're not going to agree on everything, but a man who is intelligent learn to follow his lead. And sometimes he is going to be wrong. But that doesn't mean that when he is wrong, that you have to cut him down. That doesn't mean
right.
that you have to humiliate him in public, much less in private. I mean, I remember when I was much, much younger, and if someone humiliated me in public, that being a woman, I didn't say anything right now, but she was already cut. She didn't even know it.
She was cut, Tom.
She was cut.
Just didn't know it.
Just the right time, and would
Uh,
and
I,
would and would not even know the reason why. And there's someone who I'm still friends with today who humiliated me in public, and I mean, not too long after that, I cut. She didn't even know why. I didn't even give it a reason because I didn't want to get into an argument about that because I knew it was going to be an argument.
well, Tom, here's another touchy subject, but I'm gonna go ahead and you guys can throw the stones at me, so I'm not gonna drag Tommy into this. The other thing I noticed, Tom, from traveling to a few Caribbean countries and to South America, the sisters are a lot healthier. Um, I don't think while we're on our trip, I don't think I saw any overweight women at all. I mean, you every now and then you see some with a little extra weight on them, but a little extra weight may be overweight compared to all the other women who are size zero, size twos, size fours that are out there. And a lot of our American women, Tom, we have an obesity problem in this country.
We have an
Um,
obesity pandemic.
we have a contagion. That is correct. And the foods that we eat, the fast food stuff, and sometimes it's not even about size. Tom, it's really, I think, what it really boils down to is healthiness. Healthy women are just a little more attractive, a lot more attractive than unhealthy women. And so, if you're carrying a bunch of extra weight, out of breath just from walking around, even though you may squeeze into the tight jeans and you have a little figure, but you're not healthy. Um, Guys may want to sleep with you, but I don't know if they necessarily want to partner with you and spend the rest of their life with you. To give yourself a better chance, I think being adopting more feminine ways would be the start. But with that, I think getting healthy would be the next part.
I would agree with that. And we're speaking specifically to our community, and this data is probably at least 15 years old. I remember looking at I believe it was I forgot whether it was Ebony or Black Enterprise that said that about two-thirds of black men were
I
overweight,
remember that
and,
show.
and then 80%, that means 4 out of 5 of black women are overweight or obese.
Overweight,
Which,
yes.
which leads obviously to a healthcare pandemic because whatever the adults are going to be, their children are going to be following in lockstep with what the parents look like, and so we are dealing with a care pandemic. And what does that lead to? That means to lower quality of health. That leads to cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, hypertension, etc. And then usually the kids are following not too far after that. So I mean, this is no joking matter because I mean, as we know in this country, you're usually one healthcare catastrophe from being absolutely broke or even worse.
Oh, who you telling? God's been in and out of the hospital dealing with issues from being unhealthy. So, and it took a whole lot to finally get my attention to start getting right. But the other thing, Tom, I remember my visit to Trinidad in Brazil. Um, I don't think I saw. I mean, I'm talking black women now. Um, I don't think, and I asked the cousin or the brother of one who I work with at IBM, why is this like that? I didn't see any unhealthy black women down there. Tom, there may have been some, but in the areas that I
Very few.
visit, and
Very
and then going to the topless beach, and there's a reason why Brazil is the number one destination for plastic surgery. These folks take their bodies seriously,
serious.
Tom. You're talking some of the tightest abs and tightest butts you ever want to see with women walking around. And I'm not talking about the super glamorous women that we see here, just a handful. I'm talking average, everyday women have these kind of bodies. So this is nothing special to the folks down there for them to have a 10 body. They have 10s walking all over the place.
Jimmy, this is a part of their culture. And these women, to your point, make it a priority to make themselves attractive. Now, I'm gonna go there. I, I
All right, Tom, you're going to get stoned with me now. You be careful.
with going to the grocery store, going to the mall, it is very obvious that unfortunately, too many of us, the only thing we prioritize is picking up silverware. And it can be illustrated in what you see walking around, men or women for that matter, with a
Right.
tube top and your gut sticking out is not cute. I don't know who told people that a tube top with a big gut sticking out is cute, but somebody told somebody that it was cute. But to your point, Jimmy, when you go to other countries, third world countries, even European countries, so-called first world countries, they prioritize their health and the way that they look, and it makes a difference. And quite frankly, unless something changes, Jimmy, it's going to get worse.
Well, Tom, we saw the video about a month or so ago about the Houston Fair rodeo down there, and how
Yeah,
they had to implement a dress code because far too many of our people, mostly women, were walking around like you said with these tops on, gut hanging out, and you know, and if that's not bad enough, having most of your ass hanging out. And this is a family event where kids are walking around and you walking around. I mean, I would say it would be almost digestible if you had the body for it. It would be
well,
almost tolerable, even though then, if it's a family event, that probably wouldn't be the place to do it. But if you're going to do it, make sure at least you have the body that goes with it. When you don't have the body that goes with it, Tom, it now becomes disgusting looking. And
it is, Jimmy. Unless you're maybe in California or one of them areas where everybody is trying to be glamorous and be in front of the films, Jimmy. Most of the rest of the country, maybe with the exception of New York, because New York, people have to walk because, of course, they can't afford
right,
public
car.
a car. Except most of the rest of the country, Jimmy, it is bad, and quite frankly, it is bled from our community to the white community as well. Because I see a lot more puffy white women too.
Yes, you're starting to see more, a lot more, Tom. So you're right; it's starting to bleed over. So,
Absolutely, Jimmy. So,
and
but
all I can say, Tom, is if this contagion continues, the best hope for women in this country is that you don't have a large number of men leaving the country and going abroad to hang out for a while and come back. Because I'm telling you, Tom, if men if made this an annual thing where, to leave the country and go anywhere else in the world, especially the Caribbean or Central South America, they may not want to come back. And if they come back, they may not want to deal with you anymore.
well,
That's
Jimmy,
how
I,
day and night the contrast is.
I hate to say this, Jimmy, but if you go any place outside of the United States,
Right. That is
any
true.
place, whether you're talking about Central America, South America, whether you're talking about China, uh, y- any place outside of the United States,
That is
unfortunately,
true, Tom.
the United States
Uh,
is the fattest, unhealthiest country in the world.
so yeah, the best hope for women here is to make sure that American men don't ever leave this country and go visit and vacation abroad. Because if they saw what women look like around the world and other places in the world, yeah, they may not want to deal with you anymore. They may not want to deal with the attitude and the unhealthiness. Um, they may be looking to do a mail order bride thing and import somebody into the country.
The good news is our sisters, and I have not lost ownership. Our sisters are the most competitive at practically every other thing, and so to the degree to which you are competitive in higher institutions, institution of higher learning, to
Great
the,
job.
to the degree to which you are competitive in having the most degrees of probably any
Right.
demographic in this country, to the degree that you are competitive
The
in
most
the
successful
work,
employment wise.
even considering the glass ceilings that this country, whether it's in government or in corporate America, put on top of you, finding that same level of competitiveness in terms of being the best version of you, being healthy, being feminine, understanding how to manage and navigate. Okay, you can be a boss in the boardroom, but you ain't got to be the boss be in the house too, especially when you got a man. You need to learn to soften up, be the woman that can inspire him to be the best man that he can be.
Even if you make more money and have more education than them. I think one of our book club members, I'm not going to say her name because it's not important, but she was an investment fund manager, I believe, for the city of Dallas, and her husband was a cop. I
Yeah,
know she made tons more money than him because you can't maintain the house that they lived in off a cop's salary. So I know that the quality of life they enjoyed, she funded most of it. But when it came to being a wife to him and letting him lead, she had no problem with letting him, pound his chest and make noise. And we know that, I mean, women generally run the house anyway. So you really don't have to be a ball buster. It's just, you just have to know how to get your way and steer the ship and let him think that he's making his decisions. And if you don't have that skill and know how to do that, then which is something that we don't pass on to girls anymore. That used to be a skill that we used to teach our young girls on how to manage their relationships. I remember growing up, my grandmother kind of hinted, you know, uh, she even, she was like, to demonstrate it, she went to my grandfather and asked him, "Do you want chicken or pork chop?" And I've told this story before. And whatever one I think she wanted to cook the chicken, um, but I think he said the pork chops, and then she started reeling off stuff that she was going to need from the store if you want the pork chops, and all of a sudden he decided he wanted the chicken. But then she would let him make decisions about if she was changing out the drapes. What do you want? Do you like this one or this? Which one should we use? Little stuff like that that don't mean a whole lot to her, doesn't matter whatsoever. But she would let him make decisions to help him feel important around it, like he was really doing something. But really, the decision he was making, time she didn't really care.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, there are a lot of things we could talk about, but in the Bible, it's very clear: respect your husband. Very simple.
And in return, he should respect you too and listen to you.
Well, it says
He,
to
he-
love. It says to love your, respect your husband and to love your wife.
but
Just
the
because,
Bible does outline some
just,
ways
just as Christ
for
loved
you
the
to
church.
love your wife, and if you do it correctly, and I believe it took me a while to figure this out, Tom, but I think if you follow the advice that Peter gives, and you love your wife the way he outlines it. He says that the result is she will become a perfect creation for you, and I believe that. I'm living that now. My wife is perfect for me. Not to say we don't have our ups and downs a little bit, but for the most part, looking back on all we've gone through, it's like, yeah, this is the best woman I could have possibly had to go through all this with. And so it does work, but it does require you to put the effort in. And I'm going to say one more thing, Tom, and then we can move on if we have any time left. That perfect woman is not nowhere in the Bible that says she's found. They look high and low, and if you don't find her, keep looking and praying on it. But the Bible outlines how to make that perfect woman, how to make that woman a perfect creation for you. So um, that should give you encouragement for the folks out here that are looking for perfection. Your chances are you're not going to find it. But if you have a woman who has good potential, and if you love her the right way, and you put God into your relationship, hopefully it'll turn out. She'll end up turning out perfect for you also.
Absolutely. And I think that with that being said, I think that is a great close to our show. It's a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and I know we did start a little
I
bit late.
apologize, everyone. That was on me for dragging the show and making it late, and then not having the video. So I guess I got to go back to work. And see, once again, Tom, I don't know why I have a Windows 10 laptop. Windows 10 is out of date, out of service. And I swear, I get a update once a week, and every time I get an update, something potentially goes wrong. So I need to go figure out what's going on with this laptop. And
Gotcha. We gotta respond to one thing. We've got
oh, what did she say? What do we have?
Audrey K says, I agree, gentlemen. Let the man lead. I prefer to stay in my femininity. A woman will protect her man's peace as long as he's leading. And I'd like to respond to that. One is that it should not require all of that if you choose a man who is a leader, whose leadership you can follow. And I think
Right.
because a lot of women I notice have these caveats. Well, I ain't following his lead. Well, then don't choose him. Don't be with him. Don't find out afterwards. There are certain qualities you can see and look at in a man, and obviously it may take some time in order to figure that out. But you're giving him peace or providing peace in his environment and or respecting him should not be conditional. You should provide that anyway, but choose the man who can lead and whose lead you can follow. Otherwise, you shouldn't be with
But
him at all.
but on top of that, Tom, outside of church, there's no place black men really lead. And and so if you didn't have a father to teach you how to be a man and how to lead, this leadership may be new to him. So you have to be patient with him. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to make some bad decisions. And like you said earlier, if he does make a bad decision, then y'all just have to pick the pieces up and learn from it. But you also have to, for women, also let him know that you expect him to make good decisions, to be responsible, and to look out for his family first, and be willing to, if he have to carry that cross, which is his burden, and he has to go up on that cross and die for it for you and the family, that's what you expect. Be upfront with the guy. Let him know what you expect, and this is what you want from him, and then give him a chance to do it. And then, if he's not very good at it, be patient and let him learn. Learn from the mistakes. Don't be a ball buster the first time he makes a bad decision. Pick the pieces up, work with him, and let him know, hey, we're going to recover from this, and I expect you to do better in the future and learn from this. As long as you're doing that, and we're making progress. I'll follow you to the end of the world. But if you keep making dumb decisions over and over, I'm not going to let you jeopardize me and potentially our kids. So something will have to give at that point. So you're right. So find out if you
Choose the right
can
man.
follow him,
Right.
huh? Find out if
Choose
you
the,
can follow him,
choose
and
the man
then
whose lead you choose the man whose lead you can follow.
and if he's not very good at it, be patient with him, but let him know you expect him to lead and make good decisions. But if he proves to be unreliable, then you do what you have to do.
Exactly. I would agree with that. And even in terms of having all these conversations with them, just observe. Because one of the most important skills that anyone can have, especially women, is to observe, and that is a form of listening. I would say I won't call it active listening, but it would be active listening. Observe
Right.
what he's doing, not particularly what he's saying. You do need to listen to what a woman says, but you need to observe what a man does, and that will tell you everything you need to know.
Pay close attention while y'all dating, because it will come out. So that's don't wait till you get married to figure out he's a poor leader. You need to figure out before you say I do. So good advice, T. With
All
that being
right.
said, Tom, we are a little late, so go ahead and close us out.
I want to thank everyone who joined us for this evening. Hope that you enjoyed the show again. We apologize for the technical difficulties at the front of the show, but hopefully you enjoyed the back end of it, and hopefully there's some information on here that has been of value to you this evening. And of course, we'll look forward to seeing you next week because if it's Wednesday night,
It's Black Men